Hello, good morning and welcome to this brand new edition of the newspaper show right here on ET Now. I'm Shell D'Souza and I'll take you the top 10 headlines and the stories that's there on the Economic Times. So let's get going with the headlines. Google advanced search on for GeoStake. That is a big story coming on the Economic Times this morning, that Google is looking at a stake in Geo platforms. Moving on, Reliance Industry is now world's third most valued oil company. Department of Telecom pushing companies for Part AGR payment. You have cabinet that may take up PSU privatization proposal. SIAM seeks a GST cut for demand creation for the auto sector. Yes Bank's 15,000 crore rupees FPO opens from today. Wipro's Q1 profits are flat at 2,390 crore rupees. You have Burman family that picks up 8.8% more in eveready. Walmart leads $1.2 billion investment in Flipkart. And lastly, Fosun Pharma pulls out of talks for two healthcare deals. Moving on from the top headlines that's there in the Economic Times to top market headlines that's there in the newspaper this morning. And first up is on the yesterday's market performance. Sensex falls 660 points on profit booking. You have S&P 500 as well as Dow that's risen after mixed bank earnings. This is the last nine performance of the Wall Street. Shree Cem, Nestle and HDFC AMC among top MF buys. You have PSU banks seeking more time for government to pare its holding. And lastly, Damani buys 1.3% stake in BF Utilities. And from market on to corporate headlines then. More companies seek not to launch favipiravir or FaviFlu, as Glenmark calls it. Moving on, Infosys wins deal from US company Vanguard. Airtel Verizon tie-up for video app. SBI draws a plan to save costs. And lastly, rural finance uptick renews recovery hope. All right, so those are the top headlines that's there on the Economic Times for you this morning. But let's get going with an interesting piece of information, a story that's there on the ET Markets page, and this is the story that I'm going to talk about. Remember, the RIL AGM is all due for today, and here you go, that RIL is now the most pricey global energy company after the massive rally that the stock has actually witnessed. Now third largest energy company on market cap basis after Aramco as well as Exxon. So this is a report posted by ET Intelligence Group, and like I mentioned, now Reliance Industry is the most pricey global energy company after stock rally, and third largest energy company as per market capitalization after Aramco as well as Exxon. So you have Reliance Industry that now trades at 24.4 times 1 year forward earnings, nearly double of the long-term average. The trailing price earnings multiple of 30.7 compares with the average PE of 13 for the world's oil giant. Also, it has become, like I mentioned, the third largest energy company as per market capitalization, just behind Aramco as well as Exxon. The market capitalization has increased 2.9 lakh crore rupees to 12.2 lakh crore rupees in 2020 so far, while the stock has gained 26%, the highest among the global energy companies, with market cap above $50 billion or 3.8 lakh crore rupees. So there you go, another piece of information, another feather in Reliance Industries' cap. Now, the world's most pricey global energy company after the massive stock rally. All right, let's shift focus now right on to the page 1 of Economic Times. And you have a story on that page on recovery losing steam on local lockdown. Remember, yesterday Economic Times reported how you have sales, the consumer sales taking a knock because of the lockdowns. My colleague Winnie is here to take us through what this particular story is. Winnie, good morning. Yes, definitely yesterday you touched upon the consumer sales, but this time it looks like recovery also is losing steam on back of the local lockdowns.
Cheryl, you're absolutely right. After pointing out to the consumer side of the recovery, now overall also there are many other indicators that are showing that maybe this recovery is losing steam. Maybe it was just a pent up demand that we were seeing. Now indicators like power consumption, labor, transportation, all are down in July so far compared to June. That when we had started seeing a recovery as the lockdown was easing. Now economists say that this is mainly that in June we were seeing a lot of pent up demand. Plus now again in certain cities we are seeing that the lockdown is reimposed. So that is disrupting economic activities. There is a certain cut-off of supply chains, and that is dampening the sentiments of the consumers as well. That fear is again maybe a bit there that again the lockdown is there. So, we are not seeing that good sales or recovery in overall also in the economy. Now, e-way bills, mobility indices, labor participation rates, electricity consumption, all of these are also down. Even Nomura India Business Resumption Index, which is like a weekly measure for seeing the resumption, that has also fallen to 66.8 in the last 7 days versus 69.3, which was in the previous week. And even on a month-on-month basis, if we compare, it was 70.5 in June, and now it's 66.8. So it's surely showing that, we are losing some steam, and we are, the recovery is reducing, maybe flattening is what we could say. Even if you go to see, the mobility indices have flattened for India as of now when we're seeing compared to June. And according to Google, workplace mobility has been about 30 percentage points below normal since mid-June. So that's a sharp fall that we are seeing over there. And they think that the transition stations as well as the retail stores, also the movement over there is flattening. So that is something flattish, or we are seeing something reduced. Now, what experts say is the recovery path is expected to be laden within the spikes and dips. Demand is expected to wane post-July, as well as demand uptick is below pre-COVID times. So surely we are losing steam is what the the key indicators are indicating, Cheryl.
All right, thank you, Vinny, for taking us through that particular story and in detail. But let's shift focus now on to page 3 of Economic Times, and this is the story that we have, that most companies are actually seeking not to launch favipiravir. To join and talk more on the story, I have my colleague Pankaj, who's standing by. Pankaj, good morning. I believe that Glenmark already has launched this particular drug, and it has even cut the price in recent times, but looks like more companies are in the race for this.
Right, so it is completely unexpected. Even when Glenmark launched, it was expected that within a month's time you'll have more players, giving this particular drug a shot. It's not a very new drug that we are talking about. It's a very, very old antiviral drug which essentially is working on a therapeutic treatment for the COVID drug on the mild as well as slightly lower patients, and that's one of the key reasons why more people had to go. It's very difficult for one company to meet the requirements of various countries. It's not only India but various other countries like Bangladesh, some of the other countries also, which are demanding for this particular drug. And a lot of companies are supplying globally as well, which of course is something which even other global companies are doing here for the Indian markets and various other markets. It was completely unexpected line, and in fact over the next few days you'll keep getting more news coming in where some trials have happened, a sufficient number of trials would have happened, and various authorities across the world, not only the Indian authority of DGC, giving it a nod, but various other authorities, especially in emerging markets, some of the other markets will give nods to various companies because they also want therapeutic treatment for their mild patients, and after HCQ, this probably is the bigger antiviral drug that is giving them some relief.
All right, Pankaj, thank you for taking us through the important development coming in on the COVID-19 drug front. Let's shift focus now on to earnings, and Wipro announced their Q1 earnings yesterday post-market hours. My colleague Poonam is here to take us through how the earnings were. Poonam, take it away.
Quarter coming in from Wipro with a beat in terms of profitability as well as margins, and dollar revenue has been in line. In terms of constant currency terms, a dollar revenue degrowth of 7.5% is reported. This is versus our expectation of a degrowth of 6.8%. Dollar revenue has come in at 1921 million, down 8.5% QOQ. But the EBIT margin has surprised on the positive side, with EBIT margin at 19% versus our expectation of 15.9%. Better utilization, cost control as well as INR depreciation have helped the margins. In fact, we're also seeing that the profitability is much better, with profits at 2411 crore, which is up nearly around 2.8% QOQ, and profitability is supported by better EBIT. We're also seeing that the operating cash conversion has been fairly strong at 175% of net income. They've gone ahead and added 5 customers in $20 million bracket. Deal win activity has also resumed. In terms of the segmental breakup, BFSI has been resilient, down 6.4%. Communication is down 16.2%. It has seen sharp decline. Consumer vertical sharp decline of 12.4%. Manufacturing decline of 8.1%. America has been resilient, down 7%. Europe has seen a sharp decline of 9.7%. The new CEO also mentions that profitable growth will be most important priority on his agenda.
All right, Poonam, thank you for taking us through and giving us the detailed analysis of Wipro Q1 earnings. Let's see how the stock reacts today when it opens for trade, when the markets open at 9:15 a.m. But let's shift focus now on to page 9 of Economic Times, and this is the story that I'm talking about. That is, the cabinet may soon consider big bang privatization policy. DIPAM is finalizing the contours of the PSC policy. The discussion is on with the stakeholders. Final decision to be taken at the highest level. So here is a small snippet over here on the paper. So I'll read directly off that. It gives you all the gist of the story. So going private proposal is likely before the next cabinet meet. The discussions is on with the stakeholder ministries. Also, only 4 PSUs in strategic sectors. NDA government had earlier asked Niti Aayog to prepare a list of PSUs for strategic sale. The call will be taken by the PMO on this particular policy. FM Nirmala Sitharaman had announced the proposed policy as part of the Atmanirbhar package. So the cabinet is likely to soon consider the policy to start big bang privatization of public sector enterprises, with the government making a complete exit from non-strategic sectors and limiting its presence in the strategic areas. The DIPAM is expected to shortly finalize a draft that will actually designate various sectors as strategic and non-strategic. They've told this to Economic Times. Banking, petroleum, atomic energy, defense, space and ports are likely to be part of the strategic list. The government has also said there will be more than 4 state-run companies in the strategic sectors. So like this particular story has mentioned that cabinet will soon consider the big bang privatization policy. DIPAM is finalizing the contours. The discussion is on with various stakeholder ministries, and the final call will be taken by the PMO on this particular policy. Let's shift focus now on to page 4 of Economic Times, and the story there is basically about India's international connectivity. Post-COVID-19 is all set to get a boost, with the Indian government getting into agreements for flights connectivities with the United States, with UK, France, Germany as well as the UAE. As part of the agreement, the airlines from these particular nations as well as Indian Airlines will be allowed to operate flights between the two nations. So India's international connectivity post-COVID is set to get a boost. Air connectivity with the United States and 4 others to be restored. Remember, a few days ago you had this particular tie-up with the UAE also been disclosed by the government as well. Now let me shift focus to another story that's there, and it is on Economic Times, page 5. Give me a moment while I actually flip onto the page and get you that particular story. It's an important story that's there in the newspaper for you, and that is about Fosun. And Fosun Pharma has pulled out of talks for 2 healthcare deals. This is the story that I am actually going to talk about right now. I'll directly read the story off the newspaper for you. Chinese conglomerate Fosun has pulled out of discussions for investment in 2 healthcare companies in Mumbai-based headquarter dialysis services chain and a Bengaluru-based hospital after the Indian government has now tightened regulation for Chinese investments in India. This is all as per sources. Over $300 million planned investments in the 2 healthcare companies have been scrapped. Anti-China sentiments, regulatory scrutiny, major reasons behind the pullout of Fosun Pharma. Remember, Fosun Pharma has acquired Gland Pharma in India 4 years ago for $1.1 billion, and you also had recently the news of it going ahead with the IPO for that particular company. So, according to sources, both the deals were at an advanced stage, and Fosun had formally proposed terms for acquiring a stake in the companies, one of which is Apex Kidney Care. The name of the Bengaluru-based hospital could not be immediately ascertained. 2 planned investments were cumulatively worth over $300 million. So this is the story that's coming in from Economic Times, a source-based story about Fosun Pharma and how they've pulled out of 2 healthcare deals, anti-China sentiment and the increased scrutiny being the reason behind it. Now let me shift focus to a story that's there on the page 4 of Economic Times, and according to this ET report, the road to recovery for India's economy may just be smoother. The rural financing is one of the most critical indicators, has given the economy watchers something to smile about leading finance companies. To talk more on that, I'm joined by my colleague Poonam. Poonam, definitely looks like a good piece of news coming in on the page 4 of Economic Times.
Oh yes, Cheryl, good morning. In fact, Cheryl, if you recall, we have been on a channel stating that there is definitely silver lining to the economy, and which is an uptick in terms of the overall rural economy. I do note that the economy is certainly picking up on account of various factors, and as a result, we're seeing an uptick in terms of the rural financing. Leading finance companies such as Cholamandalam Finance, Mahindra Finance, HDFC Limited, L&T Finance, Manappuram Finance are all seeing 40 to 60% higher collections as well as disbursements from the rural branches. In fact, Manappuram microfinance collections have grown from 15% in May to nearly around 55% in June, and they are likely to certainly see further improvement. Now, what is really leading to this rural recovery? Well, we have already seen that the Manrega data is showing that the job generation, Garib Kalyan Yojana, is going to help migrant workers. There are certainly signs of revival in the rural economy. We have already seen robust tractor sales, 2-wheelers and fertilizer sales. There has been robust kind of sowing and water storage levels have been stronger. As a result, all these factors are leading to a better uptick in terms of the rural economy, and definitely as a result we are seeing an improved rise in collections as well as disbursements for vehicles in rural economy. We're also seeing that in terms of microfinance, the collections are improving across the board for various microfinance players, and we're also seeing that slowly the disbursements are picking up. So certainly, yes, the rural economy is a silver lining to the overall slump that we are seeing in the broader economy right now, Cheryl.
All right, now let's shift focus to a story that's there on the page 6 of Economic Times. And this is the story of a Walmart leads $1.2 billion round in Flipkart at $25 billion valuation. To talk more on this particular story, what it means for Flipkart and what exactly has Walmart done, I'm joined by my colleague Chandra. Chandra, good morning. Some more round of fund infusion coming in for Flipkart.
This is a booster shot coming in for Flipkart. It's the largest fundraise since it was acquired by Walmart a couple of years back. So Flipkart has raised $1.2 billion, valuing the e-commerce major at $24.9 billion. This is the post-money valuation. Now, a couple of years back, when Walmart acquired 80% in Flipkart for $16 billion, it was valued at $21 billion then. So this is a slight bump up in valuation. Now, the release from Flipkart says a Walmart-led investor group. From what we understand, the other investors who also participated in this round is one of Flipkart's earliest investors, Tiger Global, as well as Tencent, which is of course an internet giant from China. Now, in terms of what this money will be used for, this is coming at a time when Jio is aggressively expanding in the market. It has big plans for e-commerce. It's raised nearly $15 billion from a clutch of investors. So this capital is essential for Flipkart at a time when it's battling Amazon on one hand and Jio on the other. So in the statement, Kalyan Krishnamurthy, the CEO of Flipkart Group, has spoken about how they already lead in categories such as electronics and fashion, and how they are now doubling down on other emerging categories such as groceries. So this is going to be a high-pitched battle in the e-commerce space. We have to wait and see how it plays out. Remember, the Flipkart group also includes Myntra, which is their fashion portal, and PhonePe, which is their payments arm, as well as eCart, which is their logistics business.
All right, now let's shift focus to the top 5 headlines as they're on the Times of India this morning for you. And first up, US scraps new visa order for international students. Shifting focus to COVID-19, India records 30,000 cases in a day. Government caps e-classes for students at 3 hours per day. You have Congress that ejects Sachin Pilot from the post of Rajasthan Deputy Chief Minister. And lastly, 97% of July rain in last 14 days.